If you're like me and you were old enough to have conscious thoughts in the mid-2000s, you might remember a kooky little show called Fear Factor. But I want you to think about it for a second. Do you really remember Fear Factor? Because I sure didn't.
I'm Joe Rogan, and this is Fear Factor.
I recently became obsessed with Fear Factor. This all started at a friend's house when, in a brief spell of boredom, we decided to throw an episode on, mostly as a bit. I thought we would watch a few minutes and then probably turn it off once the novelty wore off, but we proceeded to be glued to the screen for the entire episode. We laughed, we cried, and most of all, we cringed. Naturally, with my YouTuber content brain rot, I couldn't let this opportunity go to waste, right? This would make a banger video. So I decided to watch a couple of the very best episodes of Fear Factor to try to understand what the hell is going on here and why can I not look away. I want to start off by showing you a typical example of a basic episode of Fear Factor.
Imagine a world where your greatest fears become reality.
Right off the bat, this show's intro is something that would make Mr. Beast cream his little jorts. Wow. I could sit here and tell you all about the format of the show, or I could just let this guy do it.
Each show, 6 contestants from around the country battle each other in 3 extreme stunts. If they fail a stunt, they're eliminated. But if they succeed, they move one step closer to the grand prize, $50,000.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple, but the stunts are what really makes the show. And let me tell you, this gets crazy. They have some of the most creative, insane stunts that I've ever seen. A lot of the time, it's almost like watching live torture on network television, and I have no idea how this show was greenlit by the network, but more on that later. The episode begins with a little disclaimer from Joe telling you to not try any of this at home, because obviously the first thing you want to do after you see 6 homies hanging off the bottom of a helicopter is go and try that for yourself. But of course, this was the early 2000s, and frivolous lawsuits were all the rage. I mean, you remember the lady who tried to put a fake finger in her chili and then sue Wendy's? That was the type of that was going down in 2005, so makes sense they had to cover their ass. Anyway, we pan over a beautiful undisclosed desert location, then get to meet our contestants in the most early 2000s walkout scene ever. With the intros out of the way, we get to our first stunt.
You will each be hanging upside down from that helicopter, bound by your ankles. As the helicopter hovers over the lake, you will have to figure out which of the 3 keys unlocks a lock and releases you into the cold water below.
There is nothing that fills me with more nostalgia for Fear Factor than the sweet sound of Joe Rogan shouting over a helicopter. As our good friend Joe said, the contestants have to hang upside down from this helicopter and figure out which key goes to the lock that's holding their leg. The fastest 4 people to unlock their leg and fall face first into the lake move on to the next round. Nicole was randomly selected to go first, so she heads down to the dock, and immediately everyone starts talking that good shit.
Nicole's not going to be able to lift up and figure out what key to stick in.
I think her hair's going to kill her.
Nicole, you can't do it! You're not strong enough in the abs!
She's 5 feet away from them, and they are just tearing her apart.
Hey, Nicole, you forgot your lip gloss. We'll see how you do.
Finally, Nicole gets to go up on the helicopter. And, oh, it took her 15 seconds. Okay, I guess this challenge might not be that hard. Next up is Jessica. While Jessica's getting ready, there's like 5 more minutes of the contestants just saying things.
Every week, we have a guy who talks a lot of crap and fails miserably. You just reek of that, my friend. I just smell it coming.
Once Jessica gets up on the helicopter, she immediately pulls out one of her legs. While this might seem like a good thing, that leg was actually attached with the quick release that you're supposed to pull after you unlock the other leg. So now she's just flinging around on the bottom of this helicopter, hanging by one leg. Then, not a second later, she grabs the keys and pops them off the string that was holding them to her. So now she's just flinging around. She's got these keys in her hand that she can't drop or else she fails. And of course, she drops the keys and loses.
My son said that you give it your best. I feel like I let him down, though. There's a part of me that is disappointed in myself. I really wanted to take it home today and win.
The first stunt in an episode of Fear Factor is always divided by gender, so 2 girls and 2 guys get to move on. So since Jessica failed, our final lady, Holly, just has to finish the stunt in order to move on. Holly gets up there and it takes her a little while, but she gets her legs unlocked in 2 minutes.
Good job. 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Finished.
Now I won't be entering the locksmith.
Now that the girls are done, we move on to the guys. First up is the airline pilot, Tim.
Oh, look at the cute shorts that Tim has on.
You're so wrong for that.
Ah, yes, the early 2000s when everything was gay.
Okay, he's up. Oh, come on. Here he goes, right to it. Damn, he's struggling.
You guys will be up there for a
He
while.
is really struggling.
After a couple excruciating minutes, Tim quits, so that means that the other two guys just need to finish in order to move on. But to keep things interesting, Joe tells the contestants that the guy with the fastest time will now earn $1,000. Keep that in mind as you see what happens here. Toby goes up, and he quits. So since Toby went down, all Reggie has to do is finish the stunt, and he'll move on and earn $1,000. Keep in mind that since minute 1 of the episode, Reggie has been absolutely talking that good shit.
All right, Reggie, you know you got a lot of backing up to do right now.
Yeah, I do. But they're interested.
They're interested?
Yes.
What, folks at home?
Yes, they want to see it. They want to see me do it, and I'm going to prove it.
All right, give me a prediction. How fast are you going to do this?
I'm going to for the 15 seconds. Good luck. Thank you.
Okay, he's up! He's on the chain in his hand. Oh, no! He's got to be close to packing it in now. Drop the keys in the water. Oh, that's it. It's over.
Yeah, so we're one stunt in, and we're down to 2 people. Flash forward to day 2. If you aren't familiar, the way this show goes is round 1 is usually a stunt, and then round 2 is,
Because something tells me you're going to see a lot more of the horses later today.
Oh.
After you see what your stunt is, you might not be so happy. You guys hungry at all?
Oh no.
To stick with the horse theme, what we're going to do is we're going to play a little game of horseshoes. And what you're going to be playing for is this. Horse rectum.
What do you mean, Joe? Why would anybody want to win that? That's not a good prize, Joe.
You got to play a little game of horseshoes. And the score that you get is going to represent the amount of inches of horse rectum that you have to eat.
I can't believe I'm eating horse's ass.
Yes, that's right. These women will have 3 horseshoe tosses to determine the number of inches of horse rectum that they have to eat. I told you, this show is crazy. There are different numbers on the ground in those circles around the horseshoe peg, and these numbers determine the number of inches that you have to eat after you're done with your tosses. A ringer is 0, and the closer you get to the center, the lower the number of inches. Right? Well, as you can see on the ground, the numbers go 8, 7, 6, and then what's that in the center there? Oh, that's an 8. That is so evil. Nicole goes first and gets a 7 on her first toss, and the look on her face is just so deeply, deeply sad. I mean, I feel that, right? Imagine you just got the news that you will be eating at least 7 inches of horse rectum. Her next toss is an 8, which she gets to throw out, and then her final toss is a merciful 6. So now she's got 10 minutes to eat 13 inches of rectum.
That is so juicy and wet.
Now this is good TV.
What is it, layers of skin and tissue?
Don't listen to Holly.
Oh,
You get
God.
through this.
I will say it's kind of messed up to keep the horses around for this part.
It goes well with your lipstick.
Thank you.
It's a grind, but eventually Nicole gets it done. Then it's Holly's turn. So Holly gets a 6 and almost lands a ringer on her second toss, but bad luck, that's an 8. 14 inches, 10 minutes to go, and a huge bite right off the bat.
Come on, Holly, you can get through this. You saw Nicole do it. If Nicole can do it, you can do it. Yeah, no, you can do it. You're not gonna puke.
One strategy thing I was trying to do was to keep the pile of rectum away from my mouth and tear off small pieces. They were these juicy little jelly balls that when you crunch down, they just exploded in your mouth, and I gagged, basically.
You got 2 minutes left. Come on, Holly. You can do it. It's very possible.
If there's one thing I know about Fear Factor, if Joe Rogan starts screaming in your face, you are definitely f***ing up.
30 seconds for everything in your hand. Just do it. Come on, Holly. Do it. Holly, swallow what's in your mouth and go. Come on, Holly. You're giving up.
5, 4, 3. That's it.
The worst part about her not finishing this challenge is the fact that she just ate 12 inches of horse rectum for literally no reason. Since Holly failed, that means that Nicole is technically the only person who advances to the final round. But since Nicole would just be competing against herself, they let Holly move on anyway and give Nicole half of the prize pool, which is $25,000. So on the next day, Holly and Nicole both show up to compete for the remaining $25,000. The final challenge in this episode is another stunt. This time, our ladies have to walk around on a series of balance beams that are suspended up in the air from start to finish. The person with the fastest time will of course win. Seems pretty easy, they look pretty wide, right? Well, that's what I thought until Nicole got up there, and look at how much these things are shaking. So they put her up there on this big metal platform with just a mouth guard and a helmet, which seems like pretty minimal safety equipment if you, I don't know, maybe hit your face on one of those gigantic steel bars that you're walking on. Nicole rightfully takes her sweet time up here because this is probably 10 times more terrifying in person than it looks on TV.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Now she's got to turn, though. Not only does she have to step in the beam, she's got to turn.
Fall back!
She forgoes any of the shortcuts, and just as she's taking the final turn, a commercial. I can wait. Just as she's taking the final turn,
You got to.
with Nicole failing, we're in another situation where someone just has to finish the challenge in order to win. So now Nicole and Joe just have to sit there for like 2 hours and watch Holly just slowly scoot her ass around these little beams. After an extremely shaky showing, Holly finally finishes and wins the remaining $25,000. And if I were Nicole, I would be totally pissed that they let Holly come back and compete, but it is what it is. This episode was a quintessential representation of Fear Factor. It really had it all. A crazy helicopter stunt, a butthole-clenching series of balance beams in the sky, and of course an ample amount of horse rectum. Literally every episode is like this. I don't know why more people don't talk about this show. It was actually like this on a weekly basis. After that, you may be asking yourself, how could this show possibly get any better? Well, what if you took all the things that made that last episode great, but instead of regular people competing, it's the contestants of Miss USA 2005. Don't try to act like you're not interested.
Tonight on a special Miss USA Fear Factor.
Welcome to our 3rd annual Miss USA Fear Factor.
Yes, it's everything you know and love about Fear Factor with the sex appeal cranked up to 11.
Don't let the crown and sash fool you. I am one tough girl.
What? Yeah, of course they have to be introduced in bikinis. What are you talking about? Why do you think people watch this show? So they have 6 contestants all wanting to be crowned
Miss Fear Factor because judges don't determine if I'm the winner. I determine if I'm the winner.
Ah, yes, the coveted title of Miss Fear Factor, the most prettiest woman caked in cow blood swimming through a river made entirely of worms. So we got Miss Washington, D.C., Miss California, Miss Kentucky, Miss New York, Miss Oklahoma, and of course Miss Massachusetts. Okay, I know they're really pretty, but play it cool, Joe. Don't embarrass us here.
What's up? How you guys doing? What's happening? What's going on? What are you doing? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Dude.
Welcome to our 3rd annual Miss USA Fear Factor.
Oh, these girls look excited to be here. Wow. Finally, we arrive at our first stunt, which is really similar to the last stunt we saw in the previous episode, but this time, the balance beams have big jets of water that can squirt you right in the face. For this stunt, the ladies have to collect as many of the flags off the side of this platform as they can as they move around it, and the 4 people with the most flags move on to round 2. First up is the homegrown country beauty, Miss Kentucky.
Now, what is this something about spearing bullfrogs?
Well, it's called frog gigging, and you just go outside at night and you spotlight frogs, and it's kind of like a spear, and you just stab them.
Are there frogs in here?
No.
She starts off the course, and immediately as she bends down to pick up her first flag, she gets a fat fire hose full of water right to the face and immediately falls.
One flag!
No!
Oh, snap!
The next person up is Miss DC, who apparently did D1 gymnastics, so if she doesn't nail this challenge, there's something wrong here.
Whoa, looks hard. Whoa. Not so easy. Got 2.
We got 4, 5, 7. Looks like Sarah's gonna get them all.
Wow.
Okay, so after an almost fall at the start, Miss DC does in fact crush it.
She did really well. That makes me look like a big loser. No.
Next, Miss Massachusetts gets an uneventful 2 flags, then Miss California gets 3 flags before taking a pretty scary fall.
Miss Oklahoma, you're 18, right?
Yes.
You're still in high school.
Yeah.
Miss New York has a nice wet journey to get all 10 flags, which seals Miss Kentucky's fate.
I'm very sorry, but your time here at Fear Factor has come to an end.
Finally, we have Miss Oklahoma, who apparently is a competitive cheerleader and dancer.
The other girls are a lot older than me, so they've been out of sports for quite some time, so I think I
Think
have
so?
an
They're all
edge.
getting old, rotting on the vine.
Yeah.
These girls are all in their early 20s. They're dead. I think Lacey's gonna screw up. She's like a little kid. She's not even gonna remember what she's supposed to do. When she gets up there, she's just like fresh out of the womb.
Miss OK proves Joe wrong and easily gets all 10 flags, which sends Miss Massachusetts home and the other 4 advance to round 2. I am so excited to show you the disgusting mess that this second round is. Oh my god, it is insane.
You will each have to make your way through that tunnel while once again doing battle with the high-pressure water hose. Along the way, you will have to retrieve 3 keys. Each time you pull a rope to retrieve a key, it will dump on you 55 gallons of fish guts, fish oil, and worms.
Who comes up with this shit? The round kicks off with Miss New York being the first person to bravely crawl into the nightmare tunnel.
It's absolutely disgusting.
This is pretty bad. What's fish oil?
Fish oil? Oil from fish.
Fishes have oil?
Here we go in 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, here comes the jump. Oh, Lonnie,
I love that they made them be face up so they just get the whole thing to the dome, like... After dumping the first barrel and grabbing the key, Miss New York finds herself in a river that is somehow more disgusting with the Hudson. Then she moves on to the second barrel and gets a nice face full of fish oil. So now she's sliding through this rancid river of fish oil and fish guts. She has to go to the third barrel, pull on the string, and get a face full of live worms. It's so evil. Miss New York ends up with a pretty decent time, but I really have to wonder, is this worth it for these girls? Like, they're literal beauty queens. Why did they sign up for this? They have to be questioning their decisions at least a little bit.
How was that?
It's pretty gross.
Beyond the completely disgusting factor, there's really not too much to this challenge, but I know that you sick want to see those barrels get dumped another time, so here you go.
All right, here comes the finish. Jumping hard, trying to pull it. I keep hustling. 30 seconds in. 13, here comes the worm. Yeah!
The next round goes according to plan until Miss California has to actually unlock the locks.
Come on! Get open!
She understandably starts freaking out, and this is the first time watching this show that I started to feel a little bit sad. Keyword a little bit.
What was it like?
It's horrible. It's
Horrible.
After Miss California finishes, Miss Oklahoma struggles through the first 2 keys, then disaster strikes as she pulls the string for the third bucket, but forgets to grab the key before moving to the finish. So she has to wade back through the worms, feet first, grab the key, and then finally exit with a terrible time. All right, Sarah, you ready to do this? Miss DC gets all 3 keys, but then just look at the soup of fish guts, fish oil, and live worms that she has to wade through. Oh, yuck! And with Miss DC's time, Miss Oklahoma is officially eliminated, meaning that the other 3 move on to the final round. And this last challenge is probably the craziest stunt we've seen so far.
Ready to see your next stunt?
yes, we are.
So for this stunt, the ladies have to climb around the net that's on the outside of this cage and unclip all the flags. Then once they get done with all the ones on the side, there's another one up underneath that they have to try to climb to. I have no idea how they're going to be able to get down there, but we'll see. Miss DC goes first and gets all the flags off the side, but then falls as she tries to go to the bottom.
Gosh,
How was that?
It was the most difficult thing I've ever done.
Ever?
My arms are killing me.
Really?
Killing me, yes.
Next up is Miss New York, who gets all 5 flags but slower than Miss DC. So it comes down to Miss California versus Miss District of Columbia.
Got one! We're only in the second flag, but she's already moving at a much
back to champion. Congratulations.
Don't be fooled here. At the end of the day, all of these women lost by having to compete on this show. As I'm writing this script, I'm realizing just how long it's turning out to be. And so if you made it this deep, thank you and subscribe. I was gonna go over like 3 more episodes, but I think we get the point. This show is completely unhinged.